I was so wrong about the Bambu Lab X2D. When Bambu announced it, I made a reaction video and my conclusion was pretty much straightforward. If you're buying an enclosed Bambu printer today, just get the X2D. More features, less waste, dual nozzles, a heated chamber, and only a relatively small increase in price. To me, it looked like a complete no-brainer. And after spending the last few weeks using one, I still think it's an excellent printer. But I don't think it's a no-brainer anymore. Because the more time I've spent with the X2D, the more I've realised it's not the right machine for everybody. In fact, the thing that surprised me most wasn't the printer itself. It was what the printer revealed about my assumptions surrounding Bambu Lab as a whole. You see, I've always thought of Bambu printers as machines for people who simply want to make things, take them out of the box, load some filament, press print, get on with your day. That's certainly been my experience with the P2S too. The X2D can absolutely do that, but that's not what makes it interesting. Unlike the P1S, the X2D encourages experimentation. It pushes you to more advanced materials, more complex workflows, more ambitious projects. The deeper you go, the more capable the machine becomes. And that realization hit me somewhere between my 5th failed PVA support print and the moment I finally got the results that I'd been chasing. And you know what? I was approaching it like the wrong kind of user. This video isn't about whether the X2D is any good. It is. Who's it actually good for? So after my X2D React video went surprisingly well, Bambu Labs actually reached out to me and said, "Do you want one?" Obviously, I said yes. Within a week, the printer was assembled, configured and producing parts, and over the last few weeks I've printed with PLA, PETG, ASA, PVA and nylon, which has given me a pretty good cross-section of what this machine is capable of. If you're considering the X2D because you want to move beyond basic PLA printing and start experimenting with more demanding engineering materials, then this is where things start to get more interesting. Now, if you've watched this channel before, you know I don't spend hours and weeks printing calibration prints and really getting into the weeds, this sort of stuff. I'm still sort of finding my way with FDM, if I'm going to be completely honest. I much rather run a first layer test, a couple of benches, a couple of maybe some tweaks, and then just jump straight into my normal workflow and just get printing stuff. And that's exactly what I've done here. Spoilers incoming. One of the features I was most excited to test was the auxiliary nozzle and the ability to print PVA. In my head, this was going to be revolutionary. Finally, I could print engineering materials with dedicated PVA support structures, drop the finished parts into water and watch the supports dissolve away, leaving behind perfect structures. Unsurprisingly, the reality was a bit more complicated. My Bambu rep actually told me this was going to get a little bit spicy, and chatting to some other creators, Fohammer, CJ from Elevated Systems, they all told me that just don't bother, frankly. Well, obviously I ignored them. Most excitingly though, I printed in nylon. I'm just starting an epic build for a high-speed RC car. I've never attempted anything like this before, but I've found a complete project on CG Trader. The package includes the files, instructions, parts, everything I need to build the whole thing. So for the last few weeks I've spent a frankly unreasonable amount of time trying to make PVA work on the X2D. I've had failed prints, clogged material paths, inconsistent support interfaces, and more than a few moments where I questioned whether the whole exercise was even worth it. Luckily though, I'm a stubborn bastard when I need to be, and eventually, I got there. The TLDR version of this story is I wanted to do this because when printing the T's and elbows needed for the ducting for an upcoming ventilation project, I was printing in PETG on the P2S and the supports were ending up welded on the parts. My monkey brain immediately decided that what I needed were supports that would simply dissolve away. I did try PETG and PLA supports, but the results were never good enough, in some cases workable but not perfect. I also tried full PVA supports, both normal, which uses loads of material and takes ages, and tree supports, which have a tendency to break off on their sensitive internal bits. What eventually worked was using PVA as an interface layer between PLA normal supports. This still took some tweaking, and I ended up using this awesome thread as a basis for my settings, so shout out to the people behind this thread because frankly you saved me a lot of time and a lot of effort. The biggest thing I learned to help you out if you decide to experiment with PVA though is to slow the speeds right down. I never went above 30mm a second for any of the support settings I use for my PVA, and also the Bambu stock settings are a bit hot, so I dropped that down from 240 degrees C to 220 degrees C. That seems to have sorted it. Annoyingly though, I reckon Ross and CJ were right. It really wasn't worth the effort. The upside is I've learned a huge amount about the X2D during this whole process, and more importantly, what type of user the X2D is really for. Initially I ran off some parts in PLA to test them all in a cheap material, but I also needed to print the higher stress components in a tougher material. So once I knew everything fitted together, I ran off the gears in nylon too. I've never printed in nylon before, but I think these look great. What do you think? I want a massive mid-video shout out to CG Trader, by the way, who was supporting this entire RC car project. You'll see a lot more about this coming through the year, but as I've mentioned on the channel before, sponsors supporting segments like this make running the channel so much easier, because it means I can afford to pay editors and lift up the quality of the videos and maybe, shock horror, spend some time with my kids. So I was absolutely wrong. My initial assumption was the X2D was an absolute no-brainer purchase. It isn't though. Using it for the past few weeks, I've absolutely loved some aspects of it, such as the print quality, which was the first thing that stood out. Don't get me wrong, the P2S already produces excellent results, but side by side, I consistently found the X2D delivering cleaner surfaces, sharper detail, and more consistent quality across a wider range of materials. Not a dramatic difference, but it is noticeable. The auxiliary nozzle too. When it works, the auxiliary nozzle is genuinely brilliant. Let me clarify that a little bit. I had one very funny fail here, and it was entirely my fault. Well, mostly. I allocated PVA material to the external and the HT slots somehow. So when the material was loading and unloading, the X2D got confused and was trying to unload both materials that it couldn't detect, while at the same time triggering the unwind function in both the Bowden and the HT units, causing most of a roll of PVA to unspool on the floor. The only way to stop this was to unplug, manually rewind, then delete the filament from the external slot. So yeah, kind of my fault, but also this feels like a bug in the Matrix too. There is no doubt though the ability to dedicate a nozzle to a particular filament is a huge boon. It reduces contamination from other filaments, it lowers the amount of waste you get, and it also speeds up the printing because you're not constantly purging and swapping. More than that though, it unlocks various different types of materials that just aren't possible through an AMS, and again that's a bonus. And if I'm really honest, I just love how cool this looks. I also love the heated chamber, which for ASA, nylon, other engineering materials, the heated chamber basically makes printing those things possible. Warping's reduced, layer adhesion improves, and the machine feels much more capable when pushing into materials that would normally require a lot of environmental control. Frankly, the P2S couldn't get this hot, so a whole swathe of materials were off limits to me before. And I've spoken about this before, but reduced material waste is another massive bonus. One of the biggest practical improvements over previous Bambu machines is the reduction in purge waste. Anything I can do to reduce unnecessary plastic is a bonus, and if you're regularly printing multi-material jobs, the savings are going to quickly become noticeable too. It's not going to be life-changing, but it is definitely a welcome improvement. And the upgraded filtration system is a welcome addition too, for anyone regularly printing ASA or other materials that produce fumes and odours. So PVA isn't plug and play. That was probably my biggest surprise. I don't know why. Like I say, I go into this style stuff a bit naive. In the initial marketing, PVA is sort of mentioned as a, oh, by the way, this machine can do this. Just crack on. It's not like that. Not at all. Looking back, most of the errors and bits and pieces I ran into were just down to my own lack of experience, but if you are like me and you are on the fence about whether to invest in something like a P2S or a more basic machine, or whether to just spend an extra $100 in something more advanced, then just a word of caution that you will need a little bit of a learning curve to get to grips fully with the X2D. The capability is there and in spades, but just don't expect to be there on day one. Another downside is the Bowden extruder setup. In practice, barely notice this when actually printing. It's not a major issue, but it does introduce some limitations compared with some of the direct drive systems, particularly when working with softer materials, and it's slightly less convenient for manually loading and unloading. Visually though, it just feels like more of an engineering solution than a polished Bambu aesthetic we're used to. And another little minor irritation is the build volume. For most users, the build volume will be perfectly adequate, but it's still worth saying that to use both nozzles, there is a strip that will not be able to be reached with the auxiliary nozzle. So the build volume is slightly smaller than it looks. My testing period included a couple of communication-based issues, firmware oddities, and hardware that didn't behave as expected. None of them were deal breakers. More, they felt like early adopter issues that are going to get ironed out, but again, you should know about this sort of stuff. But they did make the overall experience feel slightly less polished than I've come to expect from Bambu Lab. One was the spooling error I talked about earlier, another was a syncing issue with loaded filaments. At one point my unit said I had 10 filaments loaded. Most significantly though, my original AMS HT had a motor fault that meant it just didn't work. The troubleshooting links pop up a screen that led in a cyclical loop, which wasn't helpful too, and in the end though, Bambu just replaced the unit and the second has been flawless, so chalk this down to a manufacturing error, I think. So as ever, I'm going to close out this video by saying that I am hugely grateful to CG Trader and other channel sponsors for supporting me and enabling me to do what I do. Isn't this awesome? Also, a huge thanks to everybody who supports me on Patreon, joins in the chat on my Discord, joins in and attends one of my painting workshops. You know who you are. You are absolute legends. I'm so grateful for all of you. So I'll just leave by saying that this is RisingApe Minis. I'm James, and I will see you next time.